This conference will now be recorded.
I'll give you a second to sit down.
Maybe it's this phone.
Get moving. He's right there. All right, good evening, everyone. I call to order the meeting of the Town Commission on June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. Thank you to those that are listening to our live audio feed. Just a reminder that those that wish to make public comment during the meeting are encouraged to attend in person in our chambers or send comments to the town clerk prior to the meeting. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cobb?
Here.
Vice Mayor Tahasa?
Present.
Mayor Herbert?
Here.
Commissioner Pugh? Commissioner Bichelet?
Here.
Please rise and join me for the pledge of allegiance.
Wow.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, where are we here? All right. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion on the approval of the agenda as amended. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Here we go. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess we don't need to call the vote then. All right, we have an update by County Mayor Robert Weinroth. Please join me in welcoming. Did I see him? He's not even here. I didn't see him.
You can't find a parking spot.
You could be right.
No, there is that.
I know, believe me, I know. Huh. Well,
We can just hold
We'll
off
just
on
hold
that.
off and-
Table it for
and, right, okay. So we don't have to do anything to that. We'll just, okay, we'll table it. Oh, okay. Town Clerk Armstrong, will you please read the announcements?
The meeting schedule for the next month is as follows. Budget meeting Tuesday, July 5th at 2 p.m., followed by a regular town commission meeting at 6 p.m. Community standards hearing is Tuesday, June 7th at 10 a.m. and planning and zoning commission meeting Tuesday, June 21st at 8 a.m. All meetings are held in the commission chambers at Town Hall. The town is hosting a blood drive event with One Blood on Friday, July 1st from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Saturday, July 2nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The bus will be parked behind Town Hall. All those who wish to donate blood can sign up through the link posted on the town's website. All donors will receive a $20 e-gift card, a t-shirt, and a wellness checkup, including blood pressure, temperature, and iron count. Town Hall will be closed on Monday, June 20th, 2022, in observance of Juneteenth, and on Monday, July 4th, in observance of Independence Day. Please join us each month prior to the Town Commission meeting at 5 p.m. for the Building Official Educational Forum in the Commission Chambers at Town Hall. Details, including topics to be discussed each month, are on the town's website. Residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notification and use your Civic Ready should sign up on the town's website or call Town Hall for assistance. Also, we want to notify residents that the town approved a special event application for a walkathon on June 12, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please expect to see heavy foot traffic on the sidewalk of A1A from Woodbright to Oceanfront Park during those times.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
also, the building official monthly forums will be suspended for July and August. We're in the off season, so we're going to suspend those 2 months, and also due to our budget meetings. So
All right,
we will not hold on
That's all
July
right
and
back there.
August.
all right. I will now open the floor for public comment on any item that is not listed on the agenda.
Carolyn Cassidy, 7 Hudson. I requested a meeting with Carla and Tracy on May 12th. On May 26th, Tracy couldn't make it, unfortunately, but Carla and I sat down to talk about the Board of Adjustment. I had asked for the meeting to better understand, as a member of the Board of Adjustment, how variance applications are reviewed and evaluated by staff before they come to the board. Carla explained that the staff made various requests for completeness and accuracy. I have to say that I applaud recent changes and steps that they have taken to provide additional background on the request by Corey, the town planner, and in making staff recommendations, which are much appreciated, that are strictly with respect to the code. Staff is also discussing, and I totally concur with this, enhancing the notices period, giving neighbors a longer time to review, encouraging any dissenting neighbors to attend the meeting, and in some cases hiring an attorney. If more time is needed for a neighbor to repair, then they should be encouraged to ask that the meeting deferred. Another suggestion I had, that is, if engineering or construction plans will be part of any permitting application and process, then the town could request that preliminary construction plans be submitted along with the variance request. I'm not suggesting that any applicant would pay a permit fee at this point, but if there were preliminary plans for Girani to review, it would in effect help to streamline the process for the applicant, provide a complete picture for the Board of Adjustment, and save time for the building department. It would also be helpful to learn more about any prior permit applications or code enforcement history on the property as it pertains to the variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Good. Good.
Greg Van Vliet, 17 Tropical Drive. I had a meeting with Tracy and the town engineer too, Lisa, a year ago almost, about flooding. I did hand out, I got some handouts here. We haven't flooded since 2017.
All right, sound good. Later.
And the system's working, which is good. It's better than our old system. The old system dumped into the intercoastal. It didn't have a backflow preventer. When the tide got up, it would come back down our street with fish. So we've got a better system. It's been operating well, but there's still an Achilles heel. When the power goes out for FPL and the backup generator fails, we flood, period. There's no and if or buts. Less than 1 inch of rainwater will cause flooding on Tropical because we're receiving another 186 acres of water from the surrounding areas. Do the math, we're flooding. There's no question about it. That's, it's kind of like the town's responsible to try to keep us up. I came in with a meeting and a suggestion to try to come up with a way to take care of this problem. But nobody ever responded to me here yet. After the letter, after the meeting. So I found that.
That great.
You met with me
Well,
too.
I'd like to see if we can get something on a menu somewhere for another meeting with townspeople that are involved. There are people on the petition, they flooded before, they're gonna have damages in the future when this transpires again. It's gonna happen again. It's just to give them back, it's gonna fail at some point in time. And we will flood again, so it's impacted our property values down there greatly. We had a big cash deal. The buyer just walked away on the dimension of flooding. One property owner spent $50,000 building a wall to prevent the flood waters from coming up.
Sell your fucking
I'd
house.
like to be contacted and try to get a meeting going again to investigate and try to see what we can do for this.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a quick question? Would it? Please?
What would you like to ask?
Very quick. What you're asking, sir, what you're asking on the line shutoff valves, you're referring to the lines that are feeding into the tropical basin?
Yes, there's two big pipes, and then like 24-inch pipes.
So you would like to have those in case FPL fails and in case the backup generator fails, so the pumps are not working basically. Those shutoff valves would basically prevent more water coming into your area.
When we had the meeting, the question was brought up, well, then the other areas are gonna flood up. And my response was, it's perfectly, all right that we flood down in Tropical.
No,
We've been
I
experiencing
understand your
flooding for 50 years.
So, by the way, we just had our budget meeting
Yeah.
and we're putting $145,000 into Tropical. I think it'll solve some of your concern. The back flaps that are supposed to block what you're saying. We noticed 2 of the 5 aren't working properly. they could just be worn out, so now we're gonna investigate all 5. And
That's
those,
on the pumps you're talking, right?
yeah, the actual
Right.
flowing into the tank or flowing out.
Right.
So that should help, and when we get in there to investigate, we'll hopefully be able to address some of your other problems.
Yeah, well, the whole intent, my whole intent was to put a valve so when the power shuts off,
Yeah, I understand.
you stop the water from flooding. And that would give us time to either get the backup generator back on.
Yep.
Or in a quick response, bring down the
Yep.
diesel
Right.
pump. And if it's not flooded, it's going to be easier to set up that diesel pump when you aren't dealing with water setting over the top of it.
Good point.
So the whole intent here was just a quick stop to prevent the problem from flooding and then get it corrected. Right?
Thank you very much. Yes, tropical was quite a subject of conversation during our whole budget. We all got a lot of attention.
Can I speak for a
Yes,
minute?
please, keep
I
going.
just want to make sure that the residents know as well that since we had that issue in 2017, I've installed some monitoring devices on the pumps that actually allow both Billy and I to maintain a visual view of whether or not power exists at those locations with audible alerts, and also the ability for us to know through our smart devices whether or not power is there, and if it's not, we have the ability to then respond much faster than we were previously too. So we have put into place some redundant technology to help us monitor that and prevent flooding from ever even occurring. Okay.
Thank you.
I just
Mr. Brown?
wanted to comment on tropical, if that's all right. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. All the money and time and agency, and Jeff knows that thing is not fixed yet. Whatever the grand plan is, it's not been working. And I've seen water when we first moved here that went up into a house, into the living room area. I mean, completely flooded the whole place. And then we spent all this money from all these different agencies. And a lot of people were involved in this town in that project who benefited, if you know what I mean. So the other thing I wanted to get straight on the, we don't want to talk about Old Ocean. We're going to do this in a rotating basis. People are going to sign up and do the 3 minutes and then go to the next one.
Old Ocean is-
Yeah,
It's
pardon
on the
me?
agenda.
Yeah, it's on the agenda. So if you, right now, we're doing public comment. When we get to the agenda, you can speak again on that.
Thank you.
Just because we love to see you today. We love to see you coming up.
Dave?
What are you saying to her?
Ray Hutchins, 33 Harbor Drive North. I've got two things that I would like the town to consider. Number one, we have an ordinance against having dogs on the beach. I like dogs. Everybody who knows me knows I like dogs. I walk my dog every day up at the Porter Street Extension boardwalk, but I never let the dog go on the beach because we have an ordinance against it. Either all of you should say it's okay for everybody to do it, or we should say no. So I'd just like to see that considered. The other item that I want to talk about is also on the boardwalk. Periodically, we have groups of bicycle folks show up to watch the sunrise. But their idea of watching the sunrise is they take their bikes out onto the boardwalk, completely line them up on both sides, and none of the rest of us who just want to go out there and sit are able to access it. So I wonder if it's possible if we could pass an ordinance or consider one that keeps people from taking their bicycles on the boardwalk. I had one of them talk to me and say, oh, I'll leave my bike down here, but I wear these shoes that give me better traction on the pedals, and it'll tear up the boardwalk even worse. You know, kind of, it went downhill from there. Mr. Brown was present for one of those confrontations, so perhaps we could do something, because we're the ones who paid. These people could care less about maintaining something that we pay for. So I know we're busy with other things, but I'd like you all to think about it.
Mayor, may I-
Thank you.
may I
Yes, would you
address?
please address this?
Yes.
We
Number
discussed.
one, we already have a sign on order that says no bicycles bicycles on crossover. And number two, staff is already working on the ordinance as directed by the commission.
And we're putting in a composite walk to replace the current one. So it'd be interesting to see if the bicycle shoes don't affect that.
Maybe you could put up one of those things that dries up.
I knew where you were going with that.
Sorry. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Betty?
Miss Betty? Is that Miss Betty?
This morning, speaking to the subject of dogs on the beach. I fought the ordinance to disband dogs from the beach. My Airedales used to patrol it regularly to keep people from stealing the turtle eggs.
No, my
If
bub's
I
there, Charles.
can't take my dogs on the beach, no one should be able to take their dogs on the beach. And the people from Boynton have, I don't dare, because it would be, I guess they would bleep it if I told you what someone said to me when I told them that their dogs couldn't dig on the dunes. The federal government has a $5,000 fine for any disturbance of the dunes. We can't enforce the federal law, but I think we could make a fine and enforce it. You only have to fine 2 or 3 people $100 or $500, and they'll keep their dogs from digging on the dunes and running on the dunes. And maybe I could take that off.
Thank you, Debbie. We have any other public comment? Hearing none, we will close the general public comment. Town Clerk Armstrong, would you please read the consent agenda into record?
Adopt minutes of the special town commission meeting of April 18, 2022. Adopt minutes of the regular town commission meeting of May 2nd, 2022. Ratify emergency expenditure to Matson Bar and Mine for water line break repairs at 12 Inlet Cave Drive. Approve solid waste authority's piggyback storm debris management contract with Thompson, and Ashford, Crowder Golf, DRC, and Village and Jordan. Approve the land development / building permit extension for Palm Beach County's Ocean Inlet Park Marina project. Approve building permit extension request for 24 Hudson Avenue. Approve refund of $1,500 for 33 Versi Drive, variance application for doing crossover construction. Approve First Amendment to interlocal agreement for law enforcement services for the town of Briny Breeze.
All right, I'll now hear a motion on approving consent agenda.
Before you do that, can I just, a couple of
Please.
comments? On item 1F, this is to approve a building permit extension request for 24 Hudson and also to waive the renewal fees. I want to make sure this is
Okay.
clear. And then also on item 1D, to approve the solid waste authority's piggyback storm debris management contracts. You have the piggyback contracts in your packet. This would be to authorize the town manager, to the town manager and the town attorney to develop our contracts to piggyback.
All right,
And
Agreement?
I have
Yes.
a quick question on item number 1C. I want to make sure that based on the observations and everything, it looks like the problem was not on the town side, but was on the homeowner side. So we are seeking reimbursement from the homeowner
Correct.
on whatever we are paying here because
Correct.
we hired them, but we are seeking reimbursement.
The commission talking?
all
I
good.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda
Second.
items.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify. Any? All good. All right, regular agenda items. Number 2 on our agenda is the Old Ocean Boulevard pedestrian safety. Town Manager Stevens, would you please advise us?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As you know, the citizens group, which is being led by Carolyn Cassidy, gave you all some suggestions at your last meeting. And you directed staff to look at those and come up with costs. And we have given that to you in your packet. If you'd like us to go over those, I'm going to defer that to Chief Jones.
So the recommendations that were made by the committee are their recommendations, obviously. What we're bringing forward is not recommendations from our perspective. It's just supporting the things that they brought forward as recommendations and how we thought potentially those requests could be best suited in that environment through the use of their requests as well as technology. So that's kind of why we've broken it down the way we have. Obviously, speed humps and or speed bumps were one of the things that were requested. And we don't have any opposition to installing those, but we do prefer a permanent fixture versus a temporary fixture because of the road foundation being disturbed in order to install a temporary fixture. And the pricing is not that significantly different between a temporary versus a permanent. So you'll see that as one of the suggestions or ideas that were provided with costs associated. Additionally, striping was one of the areas of concern. Striping, there are some Department of Transportation standards that outline roadway widths as a safest means of travel, but they don't apply specifically to every road within every municipality. So they're more of a general term that are used as a guideline. So you'll see some recommendations about striping and roadway widths, as well as some articles that are referenced in there as to how we came up with that information from the Department of Transportation. You'll see some signage recommendations based on the speed signs being installed in both the north area and the south area, meaning north of Beachway and south of Beachway. We are recommending, as the town perspective, we would recommend that we supplement any standard signage with digital signage that allows us to also collect traffic data about the types of violations that we would see for speed, the number of cars that travel the roadway, those kind of things, as well as the fact that those digital speed signs kind of work as a reward positive folks who obey the speed limit and kind of, give a slow down message to those who are not obeying the speeds. So that's obviously part of what we think could be a good solution to assist in managing that area. The stepping off ability onto a right-of-way was discussed obviously by the group, as well as that's something that the town has already been working on. So you all know what those recommendations are. I think that covers the majority of the general scope. If you have specific questions about anything that's outlined on there, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them with my engineering hat on. But if not, that is simply our input to the recommendations that were made.
Thank you very much. All right, Mrs. Cassidy, do you have anything to add here?
Yes, please. Thank you for considering this tonight. Subsequent to the May 2nd meeting, Tracy sent a letter to all the legal mailing addresses of all Old Ocean residents, which a friend shared with me. Subsequent to that, there were a number of residents who wrote into Town Hall and largely in favor of what we're suggesting. Some concerns. One of the concerns was that a stripe down the middle of the road might encourage people to go faster because it's obviously a roadway, not a pedestrian walkway. And other concerns about protecting the dune in terms of cutting back the vegetation. But I just want to reiterate that our primary objective as a group was safety of people on Old Ocean. And secondly, and I think we all agree, is to try to deter traffic from going on to Old Ocean, vehicular and bicycle to a certain extent. I did read through all of Chief Jones and Billy's recommendations, and I did go in and meet with Chief Jones last week because I had some questions. First of all, thermostriping, we'd never heard of. That wasn't our suggestion. He explained to me that's a DOT guideline and that this is a town road and you could certainly paint a white stripe down the middle if you wanted to. As far as the speed humps are concerned, our recommendation was south of Beachway because that's the stretch where there are no stop signs. And largely many people who wrote back are very much in favor, including the Kaczynskis, who have had several email conversations with Penny Kaczynski, of the residents only, local access only I know there's a concern about the legality of that or the enforceability of it, but we have it on Harbor Drive. And I actually have a call into Jeff Industries to get pricing on those. I'm glad that you talked about the clearing the right of way today, and I think that's, we're gonna move forward with that. And about the speed limit, I'll leave that to you. I know it's not enforceable. We thought it was a clever idea to try to get people's attention to slow down. And also regarding one-way traffic on Old Ocean, a couple of residents and non-residents of Old Ocean have said, we would love it to be one way. We talked about this at length in our 2 public meetings, and people are of very different opinions depending on where they live. And the people who are on Adams and Tropical do not want Old Ocean to be one way because it's going to drive traffic down their streets. So that's something, you know, to be considered at a later date. But you know, all of these things are just suggested as trials. Let's try it, see what happens. And if it doesn't work very well, maybe we pursue more aggressive measures. We have to deal with all this traffic coming over, and we're just trying to be preemptive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll now open the floor to public comment. Come on, Terry, I see you.
Terry Brown. Come on, Terry.
I think we need to look at this from a historical perspective. This little strip of land, road from Anna down to the county pocket is the remnants, one of the remnants left. Manalapan has a portion and Palm Beach has a portion going north on Sloan's curve into Palm Beach. I would urge you not to do anything that's going to destroy the character of that road. If you stand at Corinne and look down to the county pocket, you can visualize what the road looked like when it was the beginning. The rest of it, by the way, the road went all the way past Malibu Apartments, past the Gulfstream Country Club. You can see it on the photos. It was on the east of the country club. It went all the way down the coast. This was the coast road before they moved A1A over. If you put in anything that's permanent in nature of bumps or humps, you can't get rid of them. They're going to be there forever. You can destroy the look and character of the road. Now, we didn't used to have stop signs at every cross street, but a good chief, one of the good things one of the chiefs did in the past was to insist on having the signs. That was Hillary. And that worked, and it slows people down, as we know, and it's enforceable. So I think the signage idea, better signage, better communication, you're not going to change America's culture. There's all these apartment complexes, and where are people going to want to go to walk their dog? Ocean Ridge. Where are they going to want to go to the beach? Ocean Ridge. You're going to get people here whether you like it or not, and you're not going to be able to screen them out. So I urge caution and slow, and keep the perspective of the town, the historical nature of the town. Most of the people in North End don't know about Old Ocean, do they?
We know about it.
So it's just this portion of the town that cares so much about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a suggestion?
No, let's wait till we
No,
get them.
but
and,
it
you know, we'll
affects
do
what we're doing here because it's going to get redundant. We have 5 items that we were going to vote on.
Right.
Right? So now we're into an overlap of all the items. I think it would probably be more efficient if we brought up each item, let public comment on that item, and then the
Can
commissioners.
that make it go 5 times as long?
Yes.
I don't think
Yeah, it
so.
would. Yeah, make it 5 times as long.
All right.
Hi, Melanie Rodriguez. I'm representing the Fayette residents, which we have some here today. Our concern is about the signage also, where it says residents only. We noticed that the streets were Beachway, Adams, Corinne, and Thompson. So it's only the streets to the north, but Ocean Ridge does have streets to the south, Fayette being one. I know the committee doesn't know that we've reached out to you since 2019 for safety on our street because we've had issues where we've had to call the police. Now we have a crosswalk that's going to be leading into our neighborhood. So we're going to have more pedestrians. Even though we're a dead end street, we have traffic constantly and we have no turnaround. There's no room to turn. Cars have been hit, mailboxes have been hit, hedges have been run over. So we already have an issue. So now if you put residents only on the streets to the north, they're coming to the south. Our street is the first street to the south. They don't see the little tiny dead end street that we have, the little tiny sign. So they dart through looking for a way to get to the beach. We do have, it is not open to the public. It has been stated many times by a few town attorneys and our own attorney. We already have an issue. You will be funneling traffic into the tiny little neighborhoods to the south, and we are part of Ocean Ridge also. Lastly, we'd like to know how are you going to enforce residents only, and however you're going to do that, we'd like that for our street and our path, since people do constantly trespass. So we would like the same enforcement that the rest of the town is going to get. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please.
Joe Belmonte, 5600 North Ocean Boulevard. I just want to say you're all doing a fine job. I know not many people tell you that. But if we put humps or bumps on Old Ocean, and I don't know if it's legal or not legal or what the DOT says about it, but if the hump doesn't go all the way to the very end, because as people get older, I'm talking about myself, but as people get older and they're walking along, then all of a sudden they go up like this and then they go down like this. And then sooner or later they trip over one because they're talking to somebody. So I just wanted to say that. And I wrote a poem, or I started writing a poem some time ago, about 30 years ago. And 40 some years ago, I moved down from the land of ice and snow, and I moved into a town called No. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and I don't have an alternative for it, that's the only problem here, is that we have so many signs, and they all say no, 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 no. Even the dogs that walk along Old Ocean look at the sign and they say, or they see no. So more and more signs, and as Terry brought up, we try to keep that road as nice as possible and as beachy as possible. So we just have to think about the signs. We need them, yes, but we don't need so many. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just stirring a hornet's nest.
Oh.
Debbie Belmonte, 5572. Same address. But, anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't think, I walk that beach every single morning at sunrise. I walk Old Ocean and drop down at Annett's the beach. I think more than cars being the problem are the pedestrians that are the problem. I think maybe just simple signage, stay to your left or face traffic, or, I mean, try to control the people before the cars. I hardly ever see cars on Old Ocean. Anyway, I mean, once in a while I will, and they're pulling into their, they're a resident or something, but it's the people that are walking, I mean, helter skelter, and like I'm on my side of the road, facing traffic, and this one girl was so triggered. I mean, she's coming towards me in the wrong lane, and she's not going to budge, and I can tell that she's not going to budge. And I said, "You're on the wrong side." Politely, I just said, "You're on the wrong side," and she got my face, and she goes, "Everybody knows you pass on the right," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But she wasn't going to give, and but they're walking all over the place, and I've seen like baby carriages, the mother and two of her friends, and they're walking, traffic behind them, and there's a car just creeping. He can't go anywhere because they're walking in front of him, and then people are walking the wrong way on the other side, and then when they do get to go around them, that's when they gun it because they're mad, but I think just a couple of signs maybe for stay to your left or walk against traffic for your own safety, just some nice signs to start with the pedestrians to get them flowing right.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is a lot of people that walk.
Mhm. Oh, Betty.
I drive 2 miles an hour. If the people don't get out of my way, I'd like to pump them. Civility, Mike.
People don't get out of my way, I'm gonna run them over.
Seriously. There's no reason to not let traffic go on the ocean. People like to go look at the ocean every so often, drive slowly, and make the pedestrians mind.
Thank you, Betty. Penny?
Hi, Penny Kaczynski, 6,000 Old Ocean. 23 years in Ocean Ridge, and here we go again. We come at it, I agree with much of what's been said by everyone that came before me, except perhaps the lady before Betty, because I want to see the bicyclists, I want to see the skateboarders, I want to see the kids learning to ride their bikes and the strollers and the people walking and all of that. I personally want to come at it from a perspective of less vehicular traffic and more pedestrian. The previous study, I think that Chief mentioned, the traffic study called it the jewel of the town. We have an asset that a lot of municipalities don't have. And we're not trying to keep residents from coming. We're not trying to keep the public per se from coming, but we want them to mind the rules of the road. I agree, the pedestrians need to too, but again, I think it needs to be a promenade. I would love to see it landscaped as a promenade, not the other way around. If you start cutting back on either or both sides of the street, you're going to encourage people to go faster, not slower, because the more space you have, the more comfortable you feel. Tell you a story. I just recently removed all my ficus that was interwoven with my sea grape. I probably gave 3 to 4 more feet on Old Ocean on the west side. Sunday, about 3 weeks ago, I walked out Sunday morning with my 2 dogs in my gown to walk the dogs in my backyard. And there was a nice little sports car pulled over in my lawn, basically. You might call it the town right of way, but it's right there. He's gotten out, he's walked over my dune, he's checking the ocean. His wife's still sitting in the car. He comes back. I'm like, hey, having car trouble? Can I help you? You know what? No, just wanted to check the ocean out. The more space you give people to park, the more that's going to happen. So I encourage whoever said it before, go slowly. I loved what Terry Brown said about preserving the culture and the character of that roadway and what it has been all these years. And I would, as I said in my original letter, go slowly. Don't make rash decisions, please.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say in response to her, I wasn't against the people.
I know, but we're not going to have a dialogue, but thank you anyway. Anybody else? Okay, so who have we got online? Uh-oh. All right, Carla, would you please read public comment from the internet?
Okay, Leonard Phillips and Johnny Krasny. My wife and I are residents of Colonial Ridge Club, and we agree with 4 of the 5 proposed changes to Old Ocean Boulevard. 4 of the 5 changes, in our opinion, do nothing to reduce the charm of this stop fair. However, we think that painting a middle line down the road takes away the wonderful casual countryside / beachside feel of the road. To the best of my knowledge, there has not been an incident on this road due to vehicles not staying on the correct side of the road. I think all vehicle drivers, bicycle riders, and pedestrians know which side of the road they are to be on. I am a general proponent of the ain't broke, don't fix it practice. Thank you for considering our opinion on this matter. Okay, Paul Swirling. Glad to see, he didn't leave an address. Glad to see our town is addressing this issue. When we had discussions a few months ago, we figured out that there were big problems caused by pedestrians passing one another, many with dogs, on the same side of the street. So an officer, Debbie, was assigned to Old Ocean to get the pedestrians walking together facing traffic. It worked great. Then new people came in for vacation and we're right back where we were. We will need to add some signs to keep pedestrians walking on the same side facing traffic. For the sake of safety, please walk on the right side of the road facing traffic. Take care. Robert Thompson, 5500 Old Ocean Boulevard. Not included in the recommendations is that pedestrians must walk on the left side of Old Ocean facing traffic. It's amazing how many people think they have eyes on the back of their heads to see cars and bikes coming up behind them. I once saw a walker step in front of a bicycle and almost get hit. With the rising numbers of electric cars not following the rules of the road, walking facing traffic could lead to serious accidents. Mary Modal. Thank you so much for gathering comments regarding the safety of Old Ocean Boulevard ahead of the June 6th Town Commission meeting. I'm writing on behalf of myself and my husband, Richard Packard, residing at 5831 North Ocean Boulevard. Our condo abuts Old Ocean Boulevard directly. We are in favor of the removable speed humps as well as the additional signage stating residents only local access, as well as lowering the posted speed limits on Old Ocean Boulevard. That said, we would like to register two concerns. One, painting a center line down the length of Old Ocean Avenue would actually encourage cars to go faster, especially non-resident cars, and would also ruin the beachside feel of the avenue. Two, removing vegetation on the east side of Old Ocean Avenue could further contribute to the erosion risk that is already such a pressing issue in this area. Thus, we do not support either of these two last measures. Additionally, one more thought, which is doing both vegetation removal and painted line is the worst of all worlds from a safety standpoint. One in which many drivers consume their normal 30 miles per hour zone. The biggest safety issue is car speed, and we should do all we can to keep it low. Nick Lempo, 6057 Old Ocean Boulevard. I just read your May 12th letter on Old Ocean Boulevard. We have a home on Old Ocean on the one-way section between Anna and Corinne. I can't be at the meeting, but wanted to add my voice anyway. One, I support everything on the list of recommendations from concerned citizens. FYI, I am not a member, and this is the first I am hearing of it. Two, I would like to add a request. Signage asking pedestrians and bicyclists to stay on one side. Three, another request, some enforcement for misbehaving or obvious pedestrians.
Good.
We are residents of Portofino, and for whatever it's worth, we very much agree with the clearing of 5 feet of vegetation on the east side of Old.
Yeah. No, I just had to bust your ass, man. Make sure.
Thank you for your letter regarding Old Ocean Boulevard. Unfortunately, I need to be out of town when we are having our discussion, so here are my comments. I have been a resident and owner of the home at 6083 for over 30 years, and I share many of the concerns articulated in your letter. The street has certainly gotten a lot busier in the height of the spring season. Pedestrians often walk 3 and 4 abreast, blocking car traffic, and they seem very disturbed when a car comes down the street.
I think you would.
One,
Yeah,
speed bumps might help the east side, west access streets. Two, add signage on Anna Street as well. Quote unquote, residents only, local access only. Three, I believe that a center yellow line on the road, and white lines on the edge of the road might help encourage a more orderly use of the road. Four, clear vegetation might help in certain overgrown areas, but I would only cut back a couple of feet from the road.
I can't blame them.
Cutting it all the way back is necessary and will lessen the charm of the street. Five, lowering the speed limit to an odd number is a good idea, but good luck.
Works out.
Almost there.
Okay.
Two more. Stephen Turner.
Shoot.
Carla, I appreciate all the reviews of the
Wow.
on Old Ocean, as I am an owner of on Old Ocean. My request is to limit non-pedestrian traffic. Everyone who walks enjoys the view along with the beauty of this special location. The issue with safety only can be changed with speed bumps to reduce the vehicular and bicycle traffic. In many cases, both vehicular and bicycle ignore the pedestrians, and I am forced to move off the road to someone's property. As stated, Old Ocean is a jewel, but with more people wanting the luxury of the view, we pedestrians are more at risk. Please don't hesitate to contact me if any questions. Last one, we made it. Susan Adams.
Yeah, we're excited. Dylan's stoked.
I lived 6 months of the year at 5900 Old
He's
Ocean
telling us
Boulevard.
so late down there.
I very much wanted to join the Conservative Citizens for Public Safety Group when it was initially formed, and I saw it written up in the Coastal Star, but knew that since I am gone May through mid-October, the majority of their work would happen during my absence. That said, I appreciate the letter sent to my home in Baltimore references the June 6th meeting and giving me a chance to reach out and express my feelings. I have just
Yeah,
finished
next
my
summer,
second
next summer.
in Ocean Ridge because they definitely that the food,
I
but
definitely
the
think.
auto traffic has gotten worse during that time.
We'll leave our
I
boat
used
down
to
there
ride
for a
my
month.
bike each day up and down Ocean for exercise, but this continued due to the fear of falling from too much
So
congestion.
what are we fishing for?
It has
What-
definitely
what-
gotten worse since
What
these,
is out
those
there?
new townhouse condos went up down between Friday Breezes and the Surfing Park. I can only imagine how congested it will get with the completion of the new high-rise building next to Prime Catch.
I ain't worried about getting on land. I
Apartment
want fish.
dwellers wanting to use our
Okay,
Hewlett Boulevard.
okay, you're
Will be
the
a
captain.
nightmare. To say nothing of security risk of trespassing and robbery/break-ins that could result in the added density of usage. I do not know if it is legal, but perhaps we can close the street to non-residents with signage and patrols telling all who cross the bridge that the boulevard is restricted to residents only.
Yeah.
I have seen such things done in other communities. I have lived in Connecticut.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to reach out and tell you that
Oh,
I wholeheartedly
got you.
support the town's effort
Yeah.
to keep Ocean Ridge and the Boulevard, the charming neighborhood that led me to move there in the first place.
Okay.
If there is any additional support that I can give, please do not
Oh,
hesitate
really?
to ask.
We can get dolphin, wahoo, tuna, all in that. Okay.
Mailing or
Okay.
emailing
Okay.
information
Okay.
that transpires the June 6th.
That it?
Yeah.
All
Well,
right. Good job, Carla. Public comment is now closed. I'll open the floor. Oh, sorry, Lucy. Missed you.
mixed bag. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I'll take
We're gonna leave
First of all,
up here about.
Lucy Brown, Harbor Drive.
Okay. You got the property Thursday, don't.
First of all, if we just had enforcement,
Now you can bring the
effective
boat down
enforcement
Thursday
of
night
the
or.
existing laws, it would accomplish, I think, everything that needs to be accomplished without destroying the ambiance of really the reason we all moved. But what I really want to say is, we should all feel very fortunate that we have Town Clerk Carla Armstrong, who does a wonderful job doing all that reading, which is not easy.
Well, you got Dylan, we care. We're campers
All
on
right,
both.
public comment is now closed. I will open this up for commissioner discussion. Jeff, shall I start with you?
Right.
Have at it.
I figured that.
Lucy.
Yeah.
I think that
It'd just be different for you.
some of
It's
the
all
matters would
family.
respect maybe having to see
Nobody, please.
town
No.
and the police department have the, I know we used to have a car, one that's had the LSV, go down there during the peak times, that there are people on that road. I think any striping is making it commercial. I mean, you're really taking a road that is, if you do look, like you said, Terry, from when you can see it, from one end all the way down to the other. Now, there is some vegetation that needs to be cut back on each side. Because what happens is that when you're driving down the road, they have to get out of the way so you're not scratching your truck. I think that should be done. I'm not really a big fan of the sign with the lights on it, because that makes it kind of more commercial, takes away the whole, I guess, ambiance of the road. I do like the signs, but the signs should actually be in the front on A1A coming down the streets, not on all those. So maybe like I want to Fayette, up and down there.
Which sign?
Maybe saying, it's
No,
a private road.
you know what I'm saying.
Low traffic
I don't
road, or something you have to, how we word stuff in Ocean Ridge. We used to do a lot more no's, by the way, than we do.
Yeah, other than that,
Local
everything
traffic
being
calming, one of those things, like we have in Harbor Drive. We have those.
And
signs in
Ridge,
Harbor Drive.
Ridge has.
chilling like a
So
villain.
those are the items you want to start out with, doing something like that to where you're not changing something in such a dramatic way that it takes away all the fun about
I
actually
figured you're
walking down the road. I mean, it is kind of like it's.
Yeah, you're talking.
I mean, we're surrounded, we have this town that's surrounded by so much pressure.
Hell,
And a beautiful little spot. I'm talking about the whole town. And then we have this another beautiful spot where we have all those shops, and literally just drive down. And you know what? I'd say most of the people that drive down there know that if you drive down there at a certain time of day, you're gonna get stink eye every time. Because you really, it's at that point in time during the day or even in the evening. It's really welcome. And except the people, of course, that live there. But that's my interpretation of what you were saying earlier, baby steps, just to change little things, maybe do what we're supposed to do on the vegetation. I think it's a big thing. And I also think that the real easy type of enforcement is one of the best ways we can spend a little money to have that happen, and we've got a little more overtime and pay a little more to do that. I think that's money well spent. So that's my opinion.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Wow.
I know, right?
We are so in agreement. And I think to Commissioner Cause's point that maybe we should take these as these 5 or 6 different things. And actually the 5 turned into about 7 or 8 and after listening to people. So I'll just give you my 2 cents version. Striping, no. Speed bumps, yes. But if we're going to do speed bumps, we have to do it both to the north and the south. We can't just be doing things in part of it. And I think that alone is a huge to get people to slow down from the vehicular side, but also make the pedestrians a little bit more self-conscious and aware that as they're walking, they maybe shouldn't be stumbling down the middle of the road with their, cell phone and their walkie, and their Walkman and all the other stuff. Walkman, wow, that just dated me, didn't it? Digital signs, I am not in favor of. I think it ruins the character and the charm. I am strongly supportive of trimming the vegetation, but it will have to be mirrored with enforcement to stop people from pulling over to the side and doing the looky-loo and stuff like that. The resident-only sign, I like the verbiage of local traffic only, but you're going to have to do it to the north and the south. You can't just do it in one area and push the traffic to another area. That's not fair. And I like the idea of having a pedestrian sign, but maybe it's rather than what you can't do is what you should do, make it a little bit more lighthearted to encourage people. And that way it's a visual reminder. I mean, because I don't think, in agreement with some of the things that we've said, it's not just a vehicular problem. I think the pedestrians are part of the problem too. So if we could, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, that would be right.
When you say pedestrian sign, you mean a sign telling pedestrians which side to walk on?
Or stay out of the middle of the road. I mean, it could be something very obvious and
Road's not that big.
Big enough. Right, big enough. Okay.
A1A is not that
Steve?
big.
So I'm a big fan of clearing some of the vegetation on the east side. The way it's written up in both the police report and the citizens committee, it says 5 feet right away, which sounds scary. They're not talking 5 feet right away. They're talking where the vegetation is intruding onto the road such that it causes a safety hazard for pedestrians when a car's coming. So I know we've already started that, and in the budget process, we actually put $3,800 towards clearing the vegetation. So it's not going to be cleared, so it's going to be like a desert for 5 feet on the east side of the road. It's going to be cleared very judiciously, probably 18 inches to a couple feet all the way up the east side of Old Ocean. I'm a fan of that. Paint the line down the center of the Old Ocean, I think, is an aesthetic that destroys what Old Ocean is. The speed humps, I struggled with this one, but I have 2 suggestions here. Number one, you don't need 2 or 3 from Beachway down to, what is it, Tropical, where the next stop sign is. You're talking one specific area. It's sort of at Diamond Beach and Polly and Charlie's house. Anybody knows where that is, I hope. So, and there's a street light there, which I think is very important because at nighttime, if you're going to have this hump, you want walkers to be able to see this hump. So I would only place 1 speed hump there. I'm told they're very similar to what's on Beachway, which is not very aggressive. The other thing is on that speed hump, perhaps we should wait a bit because I know the complaint started with the condos on the south side of Briney with all those construction vehicles going 40 miles an hour down Old Ocean to get to their job and then to get home at 5:30. So maybe we could monitor, instead of going to the speed humps now, just monitor it and see if that actual safety issue disappears. The posted speed signs and the education signs, sure. I think that's great. I would hope we could come up with a sign, like, I don't want to say one sign, but it's some means of reducing the signage on Old Ocean. And I'm not a fan of the digital signs for the same reason that I think Christine laid out. Did I forget anything?
Speed limit.
Yeah, it's a wacky idea. It's worth trying, right? This is an idea of putting up speed limits of 13 miles an hour or
Odd
16. Odd numbers, so people kind of scratch their head and pay attention.
But by the time that they thought that process through, it's like, is it really 13?
They'll go back and look.
By that time, they're already out of Ocean Ridge.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Martin, what you got?
I'm pretty much along with everybody else on this. Signage, if we're doing signage, it needs to be our nice wooden signage. So that cost-wise will limit us to certain signs, and we need to be very thoughtful about which signs we're going to use and what we're going to put out there. If we're adding signs, and I agree, there's too many signs, and but you know, those signs that need to be there. Digital signs, absolutely not. I don't think that needs to be there. This is not a major roadway. But that brings me to the point of, and I'm jumping to speed limits. I actually drove drove Old Ocean the other day. I tried to avoid driving there, but I drove there the other day on my motorcycle, and the motorcycle is relatively small versus the car. 20 miles an hour on Old Ocean is fast. It feels way too fast for Old Ocean, and it doesn't need to be. So Old Ocean is truly the design of Old Ocean, or how I read Old Ocean is the residents that have access to Old Ocean or need access to Old Ocean because that's the way into their house, like the Besslers, they need to be able to access that road. Everybody else that goes along Old Ocean is basically cruising along Old Ocean for recreational purposes. Just for recreational purposes, you don't need to be going 20 miles an hour. And I'm sure that Phil Bessler is going to be okay going 10 miles or 13 miles an hour. So that is something that I would definitely see, something that should be implemented. Speed humps, my main concern with the speed humps is it's a trip hazard, it's a bicycle hazard. There's a gentleman that walks up on, he actually walks all over the place. He's in Boynton, comes over the bridges. He has like a huge thing. With the older gentleman.
Oh, yeah. Him every day.
I can only imagine what a speed hump would create for him as an additional hazard.
They don't go to the edge of the road. There's plenty of room for pedestrians to get through.
I would like to see that if and how, but in general, it's a trip hazard. So, and it's something that is going to get installed, even if it's a temporary, it's going to be somewhat permanent because it needs to get anchored. So that would be like a last resort, but I would keep this definitely open. I think the Citizens Group has done a fantastic job on it, and thank you very much for doing it. And you know, what I would like to see probably is figure out which one of these we're going to do right now, implement this, and basically have it on the agenda for in 6 months and come back and say, okay, has this worked or not? And then 6 months from now, if it hasn't worked, let's pick up another one of these suggestions and put that in, and then come back 6 months from now, see how that goes. And if we need to go to the full extent, well, then we go to the full extent, but let's go gradual. For me, speed limit is like the first thing.
Okay.
And 13, not 16.
13. All right. I've been speaking to a lot about, I live on Old Ocean. I've been speaking to a lot of people in Old Ocean, seeing what their input to, and it was a lot of what I heard tonight. We need to preserve the character of the street. It's a fabulous street, but we can still do that, I think, and be a little more proactive on the safety, because I look at it all day long. It's speeding, it's running through stop signs. Y'all might not see it, but I do. I mean, it's incredible what I see. So preserving the character is a big one. Slowing the traffic, however we do it. Bikes, golf carts are an issue. These are what people have been telling me. And pedestrians need to be more respectful to traffic. So when I talk about what can we do, we all know the problems now, correct? So signage reform is excellent, but we do have to consider sign pollution. So we'd have to really put our thinking caps on to figure out how do we get all the messages out there without overwhelming the land of nowhere, as gentlemen. But regardless, it's just sign pollution. That's a character killer right there. But we do need more signs that just maybe include more of a message. One of the things that I discussed was on the stop signs, having a small sign at the bottom reminding bikes and golf carts, state statute, they have to stop. And they don't know this. You know, anybody who walks all the, does a bicycle ever stop? No. Does a golf cart stop? Not too often. So striping is a good concept, but I was out at Quail Ridge the other night, and between Congress and Military is one of those wide streets with the trees. It's lovely. But what they do instead of a stripe is they have reflectors, which is a little less invasive. Every, what is it? Whatever the standard would be, every 20, 25 feet or what have you, it's a reflector. So you see the blue in the daytime and at night it's reflecting. So that might be a little less in your face than the striping. Speed bumps, I know they're a good thing because they slow it down. We're looking for ways to slow it down. I'm not a big fan, but there's also I spoke to my contacts at DOT, and there's other options there that are painted. I think I told you, Chief, there's painted rumble strips where it's much less expensive, where it's in the paint. It's some kind of rubber or what have you, that as you go over the two stripes that are coming, it tells you slow down without being a speed bump. So just suggestions here. And something I was told consistently is more enforcement and visibility, which I think I've heard multiple times here tonight. Another idea we had was maybe we start a good PSA campaign, educational campaign, using all of our media. But basically every week is a new one. Did you know golf carts are supposed to stop? It's the law. Did you know pedestrians need to walk on the left side versus the right side? So at the same time, because, oh my goodness, how many times did I hear someone come up? Did you know that the police are going to give me a ticket for walking on the wrong side of the street? Did you know, a guy told me the other night, they're going to clear all the trees off of the east side of Old Ocean. Did you know 10 feet they're going to be, so we need to get the right information out there. And the idea of the clearing, which is what we have been doing lately, is again for public safety. When that car gets a little too close and the pedestrian needs, say you have two cars, what do we have, 10 feet each side? So you have two cars passing at the same time. Then you have pedestrians and bikes at the same time on each side. The pedestrians need a place to step off that road. So that's why we're clearing the 5-foot right of way. Not that we're trying to destroy somebody's property and ambience. And it's 5 feet at the least, right? Our right of way kind of meanders in size on that side. So basically that 3 to 5 feet would be something that could serve the purpose of a step off the road and not destroy the business. So when we look at these, where is our consensus to start?
Well, you could go with clearing the right of way.
Well,
but-
we're already doing that, right?
Well, we
No,
should vote
I
on
think
it.
we need to codify.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
Even, okay,
We gotta
the
get
money
rid of this,
together.
rid of this 5 foot. What it is that the street currently takes up 3 feet of the right of way. So you're really only talking 2 feet of vegetation, but I don't think we should quantify it. I just think we should say vegetation removed from the east side of Old Ocean for pedestrian safety.
Are you gonna have to say
Well,
something,
I
right?
think one of the ideas that I think I remember from budget, Chief said clearing back to where the light posts.
Billy said, back to where the light
Oh,
post
Billy
is.
said that.
That's
right to
pretty
where-
aggressive.
But that's where the right of way is,
That's
correct?
pretty aggressive.
Very narrow right of way on the east side. The road originally was 60 feet wide, now 40. You gave a lot of it away on the west side to other people.
But look at the light pole at the end of Beachway and Old Ocean going over the dune. That, I would not want to see everything cut back that far.
No, I don't think it should be cut back. You're not going to be able to cut it back. A property owner is going to complain. some of it's only 1.5 feet from the asphalt on the east side.
So we need to work towards clearing a
With
space,
discretion, with
right?
discretion.
So we need to come up with a plan. We need to take a darn look at what is what, right? We need to get a little more specific on what is what there, but we are all in agreement about clearing that area.
Yeah.
And we put money towards it today in the budget
Yeah.
meeting, correct? So that's
Yes.
a no-brainer. Do we need a consensus for that one?
I think you have it.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Okay, signage. We do need, I think we've all agreed, we do need to relook at our signs, but possibly put a little thought into it. How do we do it without overdoing it? Correct? You're
Yeah,
gonna know which ones we
We'll have to
need.
come back to you with a
Right,
plan
exactly.
on exactly what we're.
Right, well, that's what we're expecting. We're looking at general, but you would know which signs are the ones that are gonna be the most
We
important.
would love to see a reduction of signage
Right,
with clarity.
okay, yeah, there you go.
And the only thing that I'd like to add that you brought up, and it might be an obvious, it might not, is if it is possible and it doesn't go against FDOT, I really like the idea of making them wooden so it matches through the character of the town.
The reality is.
Right, reflection, right?
The signs don't meet the statutory definition because of the way they're designed currently, but it doesn't really matter because the enforcement efforts that we're utilizing are not statutory enforcement in most cases. Meaning the speed limit can't be enforced at 13 miles an hour.
Correct.
So whether that's a wooden sign or whether that's a metal sign that meets DOT standards,
Wouldn't
doesn't
matter.
matter. Statutorily, we're looking at those kind of enforcement efforts with alternative means like failure to use due care or too fast for conditions, thinking outside the box rather than using the sign as a method of enforcement. So we can work around those enforcement issues
Right.
and still keep the customary appearance that we want to
Right.
have with our signage.
Right. Okay, center line, that's, boy, that one's falling in the middle because I've got a lot of no center line, but just anybody have any input on that, on reflectors? Down the middle, don't like that either?
That would
Nada.
be that would, to me, that would be something that is a step down the road
Okay, all right, so I'm not
because
getting,
it's permanent.
Also keep in mind reflectors currently with the color of blue are meant to indicate the location of a fire hydrant or fire rescue.
uh-oh, you better tell
So if
Joe,
we
right?
go and add those in the roadway, we now confuse
Okay,
where location of hydrants are.
okay, so nix the
Thank
blue,
you.
tell Boynton they're wrong, putting those out there, but there's other options, right? So like you said, maybe down the road, nobody really is in favor of the line, but the concept of reminding pedestrians that it's a
I think maybe
vehicular
we
street.
focus, if it's all right with the commission, we focus on clearing the right of way initially and reducing the speed limit.
Okay,
Reducing the speed limit can be done very affordably, even if we need to buy temporarily stickers to go over the existing speed limit signs.
Huh.
I mean, that's an easy, quick fix. Most of the speed limit signs are metal anyways.
Yeah, give me my
It's a
wooden.
simple
I
fix.
know,
We
I
have
know, I know.
signs
The ones on
made.
Old Ocean, I think they're all wood, no?
yeah, well, they're that poly, whatever it is,
Some of
right?
them are mix of signs, but there are options.
Right.
I'm just making the suggestion that if you want to see something temporarily and whether or not
It's
it's
gonna
going to
help.
impact things, why spend $400 on a sign if we can spend $25 on the sign
Right.
and see what our results are?
What do you think speed limit wise? I mean, the concept
I
of,
like the idea of 13 miles an hour.
okay, because that, I mean, that really basically says to you, you better walk.
I mean, it's a crawl and, you know, it's,
Well, we
Not
prefer
that
the
bad.
crawl over
It's
the fly.
It's the same that you do through a school zone.
I'm not saying
active school
negatively.
zone.
Right, no, he's
I'm
liking that.
just
Yeah,
saying
he's
that
liking
it
that.
is more
Okay, but you think,
Yeah, no, I know,
Okay.
but
all right,
It's the same
are
speed.
y'all thinking we could try
The
13?
commission's interested in trying two things initially. We try the right of way and we reduce the speed limit. Then we supplement those two things with friendly enforcement.
Right?
Then we see where
Education.
things go.
Education.
I would like to have, with your concept of this rumble stick paint versus speed bumps, because I've seen them in other neighborhoods too.
Well, speed bumps aren't exactly attractive, but it could be that down the line, if we
I
see that
would
we
just
need
like-
more, right?
To have Chief weigh in on down the line, what the pros and cons are and see what the cost differential is also. Because the biggest way to get people to slow down in a vehicle is bumps. There's no two ways about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You can be as clever as you want with helium balloons and, dancing bears and speed limits of 10. It's not, that bumps is what's going to slow down the vehicles. So I don't want to completely
Rule out other options.
Right, I agree.
We do
But-
have the ability with the digital speed sign. I know you don't want one there permanently, but we have the portable one. And as we change the speed limit, we can place that sign like we
Temporarily?
did in advance of preparations for this and see what kind of speed violations we're seeing and whether or not we're getting the accomplishment of reducing the speeds of all traffic.
As a
by reducing
temporary,
the
as a temporary,
It's a
Before
portable
we-
sign. It just sits there.
oh, right, that was the
south
first
end
start,
for a
right?
couple weeks at a time and then the north end for a couple weeks at a time. And we just rotate it through until we see whether or not our efforts are effective.
Right.
Well, there's also perception and reality, and I agree 20 miles an hour is fast. But even if you go down there, I've literally gone down there without my foot on the pedal. I mean,
Yes.
you're barely moving. I could be
You're
running
going
outside my
25.
car, and you still get the stink eye. I mean, so
Oh, yeah.
the perception of whether you're doing 10, 13, or 20 is somewhat irrelevant.
Right, but I see a lot of speeding down at my end.
So I would just add one thing. If your group, Carolyn, can circle back maybe in 3-4 months with the original proponents of the speed hump, which is not a speed bump, it's like more gradual, to see if they still think it's necessary. But I'm hoping that all that construction traffic has disappeared, because they were the culprits.
We intend to keep it.
Cool.
And I have contacted Jeff Industries for pricing on signs. And then the digital signs were not part of our proposal.
Right.
She
No.
suggested those. So-
Right.
And we were all for education and enforcement.
Okay, so if we're looking consensus wise for something to walk away this evening with, correct?
Yes.
So we're on the lowering the speed limit, right? Do you have it all?
I have notes on everything.
Okay, everybody in the same?
Temporary signs.
Yep, temporary
To go over
signs,
the current
lowering the
ones.
speed limit.
Clear the right.
Clear the right of way.
At least for 18 inches.
Well, it's gotta be big enough for someone to step
Whatever,
off.
based on.
As discretion.
Right, but enough that somebody can step off, which is the whole reason why bother.
Yeah.
So it has to be enough for somebody to step off the road. That's the whole concept. All right,
But what we
so,
decide on these electric,
well, we said when we get to that point, right? And it
No,
wouldn't do
we're
us
not-
much
we're not gonna
good,
use
it wouldn't do us much good to do this now anyway, because the traffic is like, what, a
Okay.
100th of what it usually is? That maybe when season starts building and we've had our little 13-mile-an-hour
We
signs
already
up.
have it. All we have to do is move it from one place to the other. Why wouldn't we do it?
Oh, we do have, I didn't think we owned it. I thought we just used it.
No, I built it.
Oh, we own it. Oh, well then.
so do you
duh.
No
want to
brainer.
use it?
Right
Temporarily,
now,
he was
once they
talking.
get the signs up, because that's the only way he's gonna collect data unless we put an officer out there 24/7, sitting there,
Okay.
with a little.
And she's talking temporarily. Right.
And it does have a camera on it, so when we look at corresponding data associated with speeds, we can see who the offender is too.
Woo!
We'll see.
Now we're up in the ante.
Sign every morning. Will it pick up an electric bike?
Yeah, that's what I said. They're after. You do, I see. I know you do. Okay, so we're good?
You only go 13 miles an hour.
They only go 20.
All right then. Good enough?
Consensus?
Yeah, consensus. We have consensus. Oh, is there
Thank
something
you,
else?
Carolyn, for all your work in the committee. We have other committee members.
Thanks, y'all.
Did that mayor show?
No, Mr. Ryan, no, he couldn't find a parking space and he went home. We'll have to send him an email for that one. All right, so now we are on to agenda item number 3. Request for building permit extension, 6273 North Ocean. Town Attorney Godot, please advise us on this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the consideration of the extension of duration of construction for 6273 North Ocean. I just want to give you a little background so we're all on the same page. As you may recall, the construction for this property received its initial development approval back in 2013. The initial building permits were then issued in 2015 and have seen some revisions since that time. The original building permits gave them 18 months to complete construction pursuant to our code at that time. They did receive extensions, which led us to the commission meeting in February of 2022, where an agent for the owner appeared and asked for a further extension after going through code enforcement. That extension request was denied. We heard comments from obviously the owner's agent asking for the request, and we heard public comment from the general public and the adjacent neighbors at that time. Some of the concerns you may recall were the front facade, the rooftop deck, and the use of a generator at the property. So after that meeting, in the interest of avoiding litigation, town staff and I started working with the owner's attorneys to come up with an agreement to perhaps resolve this matter amicably. The owners, the adjacent neighbors initially gave some comments at the public meeting. They then obtained counsel and decided not to participate in working on an agreement to bring forward to you. And that's the agreement we're presenting tonight to give you some reasonable grounds to grant this extension of their construction timeframe. The agreement still contains within it those initial comments that they made at the public meeting about the front facade, about the rooftop deck area, and about the generator. Town staff and I worked with the owner's attorney to try to protect those interests and those complaints. And we believe we tried to address those the best we can. My agenda memo lays out some of the material terms of the agreement, but basically they are asking for a 1-year extension of the construction duration. In exchange to that, under the agreement, they are agreeing to pay the renewal permit fee of $44,515. They're agreeing to provide a letter of credit of $450,000. And they are agreeing to submit modifications to their existing building permits to modify the front facade to meet the current code provisions, to reduce the size of the front, the rooftop deck to the current code provision, and to refrain from using a generator at the property unless it's an emergency. They're also agreeing to indemnify the town should we get a legal challenge on this agreement. The agreement has been provided to the neighbors' attorneys, and I've kept him apprised of the changes in that agreement and the draft submittals that we've received from the owner to make the proposed changes to the building permits. Your decision tonight is not a development approval of this construction. That happened years ago. Your decision tonight is not to grant building permits or modify building permits. Those are already in existence and they will have to apply for modifications to make the changes they're agreeing to. Those modified plans will be reviewed by your officials, the building official and the zoning official, for compliance with the code. All we're doing tonight is determining whether to give them further time to complete the project. The neighbor's attorney provided you with a letter on Friday. It was 8 pages long with exhibits. It lays out their legal arguments. I provided a response this morning that provides our legal response to that. So I don't think tonight we need to rehash the legal arguments back and forth. Certainly the owner's attorneys are also present. Like I said, the decision tonight is just whether or not to extend the construction duration. Since we do have legal arguments on all sides, there is the looming threat of this ending up in litigation, which we've tried to prevent with this agreement. Whether or not we'll be successful, I can't tell you, but I bring that up to just caution you that what's said tonight, what comments and questions are said tonight, could always be misconstrued in that litigation. So I do recommend caution in that regard. The plan is to do this the same way we've always done this, as an executive decision. Let the owner make the request through their agent, and then we'll hear from the public. The public comment is 3 minutes. Obviously, the neighbor's attorney is representing multiple interests, and so if he needs some additional time to comment on each of his clients' position, relevant, obviously, to your decision, I think we've extended that courtesy in the past.
Thank you very much. All right, I'll now open the floor for public comment.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. My name is Stanley Price. I'm a senior partner of the law firm of Bills and Sunberg in Miami, Florida. And with me is Gerald Richmond, co-counsel in this matter. Could I just ask procedurally, am I limited by time?
We have a 3-minute. We're happy to give a little bit of leeway.
I appreciate it because I'm the only speaker.
Right, I understand.
Let me initially apologize for having you sit making this decision tonight. Several things have gone wrong over the last 7 years, and we acknowledge participating in the fault of that occurring. Let me also acknowledge the fact that I've been brought on about 3.5 months ago out of retirement. I was living, moved to Boca Raton, stopped practicing law, and I said I would never appear at another public hearing again.
Here you are. Here you are.
I've been doing this for 52 years and very tired and rather be up in North Carolina where I flew back from yesterday. Let me first acknowledge the fact that it has really been eye-opening and amazing to me how competent your professional staff, both from the town manager point of view, the building official, and the town attorney. We've had give and take now for 3.5 months. We've met several times. We have suggested meeting with our neighbors council. And let me also acknowledge that we apologize to the neighbors for the angst that we have caused by prolonging this build out. But I'm here today to commit to you that we will abide by every single word, paragraph in this agreement. We put our money where our mouth is. We were going to post a letter of credit of $450,000, which if we don't perform, the town is free to use that money for doing any action they want in regard to this property. I'd like to point out a couple of facts that you may or may not know. This home is fully built out. The superstructure of this home is fully completed. There's windows on all the walls and all of the windows in this home. For whatever reason, the contractor who was hired did not avail himself of making the FP&L utility available to this home, which caused unnecessary need for generators, which caused a nuisance, the noise to the surrounding property. That issue is no longer in effect because we now have power available to this home. So we would not have to use any generators any longer. All the work would be internal with the exception of the reflecting pool, which is in front of this home. For you, those of you who do not know the layout of this property, it's a home of 11,500 square feet on a beautiful location on the ocean with a ridge in the back of the property, preventing views to me that are very reminiscent of California. The water and the waves going against the rocks. I have reached out at the suggestion of your town attorney to our neighbors to the south. I was permitted to come into their home and try to determine what we could do in terms of mitigation. Very courteous meeting. We were told that they will absorb what we had to say to get back. We've met with the attorney for the neighbors through a meeting called by the town attorney. The town attorney indicated that he would get back to the town with suggestions, if any. That has never occurred. We are prepared to complete what this enforcement action is all about. That is to build this home out. I should reflect also that my client lived on this property for 6 years in the previous home that was on this property. They are not newcomers to the town of Ocean Ridge. They lived in a home there with a deck outside deck for 6 years prior to the demolition of the home and starting to build this new home. I'd like you to further understand that in 2015, when we obtained the initial permit from the town, a change to the permit application was made in 2017, where it was made to be a more modern contemporary home, which includes the flat roof. Our architect, being extremely careful and professional, met with town staff, and on plans that were submitted in 2017, there's 2 stamps on the front of those plans. One is by the building official, indicating that the plans meet all of the requirements of the town of Ocean Ridge. And one stamp is with your that indicates that these plans meet all of the code provisions of your zoning code. In 2018, we submitted minor modifications to the original plan in 2017. Once again, our architect came in and obtained a seal from both the zoning director and the building director, indicating that these plans meet all requirements of the building code and the zoning code. In 2019, another modification was made, not of any substance, that indicated, once again, those 2 stamps on the front of the plans that the town has blessed us. I would also tell you that my client religiously, within every 6 months, the building permits were issued, calls for an inspection from the town. The properties were inspected and approved on each and every inspection. I can't put the toothpaste back into the tube.
Sir, I'm just going to ask you to.
I am.
Thank you.
I appreciate the courtesy. I am here today to tell you that we are going to comply with the extension agreement, which we respectfully ask that you grant to us tonight. I don't believe any court of competent jurisdiction is asked us to ever demolish this home. This is built in conformance with your prior approvals. I apologize once again to our neighbors. I understand why they're angry. I've been doing this for 52 years, and someone asked me what I did for a living, and I said I bring communities together. Unfortunately, mostly opposed to what I'm trying to advocate. But I pledge to you, we've negotiated a very fair deal. We have compromised to going back to things that were lower than what was originally approved by the town, and we commit to you that we will comply. My client, Andrew Rifkin, as I said, lived on this property for 6 years and plans to bring his young family to live in this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Public comment?
Public comment?
Good evening. John Chivels, 6201 North Ocean Boulevard. Carla, you have some pictures? I kind of think a picture say 1,000 words. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Trying to get them up on the computer. Maybe I can, while she's getting that, I can review something. In May of 2015, a permit was issued. A fee was paid to the town on May 8th, 2015. Then 12 months later, November 13th to 15th, a fee was paid, and the permit was extended until June 5th, 2016. Can I go to the first picture?
Yeah, couldn't hold them up at once, so I don't have.
No, okay. And
Go back.
keep going back. Okay. So what happens is you had a building permit that expired June 5th, 2016. The subject picture is from my house, was taken on September 28th, 2016. You can see footings are just starting for the building. With a permit, building permit that fully expired and was never renewed until March 22nd, 2019. If I can have the second picture. Second picture is taken on September 15th, 2018. You can see the structure is up. Next picture is the front of the building, March 11th, 2019. You can see the openings that they had, and the center was an articulation that they were going to do. Now, this was all done, these last three pictures, in a period in which no building permit was issued for the subject property. In meeting with Durante 10 days ago, we went through, I couldn't track all the permits. We called Lisa Burns, who works for the Borough Inn, and we went back and looked at when the fees were paid. Fees were paid May 8th, 15. Fee was paid 11/13/15, and no fee paid until 3/22/19 when the next permit was given. So what I'm just indicating to you that the structure was built without a permit. Every contractor in Ocean Ridge has to sign an agreement that statement that they have reviewed the codes in town and sign it and submit it as part of the building process. We could go to the next item, next picture. No, going the wrong way. Next one. It's not. Nope. Keep going. Keep going. There's a red one. Nope.
I'm gonna reopen them again. That shows pictures going up.
I guess it might not be on there. I can articulate what it is. I'm sorry, it was a very moving picture. Each one of the plans submitted to the town has a red stamp that says the town of Ocean Ridge, we are giving you a building permit, but provided that none of the items in here violate the town code. Each one of the permits, each one of the pages has this stamp on it. And I wanted to show it to you. Unfortunately, it's not here. And this is something that's pretty important because what it does is says, puts the onus on the applicant that they meet all of the issue on codes. And from there, I want to just get into the idea that the issues pertaining to the site are numerous. The site is proposed as 32% coverage when it's actually 48%.
Charlotte, I'm going to get you, I'm just going to get you to, we have about another minute. So I just want to let you know ahead of time.
Okay, I have 48.5% because the center pond was never included in it. I can get into garages, I can get in the front facade, I can get in the front pool, I can go into that other stuff. I also like to take that picture there and show you that's my house looking at Oceandale. You can see the first floor is where the CCL line is, the state of Florida. The second floor is a cantilever, which is 8 feet over the CCL line. I'm okay with that, but I just wanted to let the board know that this property has 90 feet of decks on the second floor overlooking the ocean, in addition to the decks that they have around the first floor pool. The applicant spoke about 2,208 square feet for a deck on the third floor, on the top floor. This property has 3 floors to it. You have a lower level, which has garages, a media room, wine room, middle level is with the kitchen and master bedroom, and the third floor is bedrooms. It consists of 4 buildings that are attached by a wall. You have a front building of 4,600 square feet, 2 guest suites, and a garage. 11,000 square feet is everything. If I was to build a house on Hudson, 2,500 square feet, and had a 3-car garage or 2-car garage in the back, that garage would not be covered as part of my coverage. Not only that, the ordinance says that 80% will be roofs pitching 4/12. The subject site is not proposed as that. I don't want to hold you anymore. I'm just going to try and get into some brief comments on what it was. And essentially, the property does not have a permit. There are numerous violations, and perhaps maybe it should go back as a new permit and reviewed by towns and not just by lawyers here at an entity like this.
Thank
For
you.
your time.
Thank you, sir.
If I might, this was the photograph that was missing. We can hand that down so that anybody can read it.
Is there anybody else for public comment?
Hot in there.
Hello, everyone.
You state your name and your address.
Alana Barish, 6275 with the House Directing Report.
No, we're.
John pretty much said it all, but I just wanted to add a couple of things to think
Ow,
about.
ow, ow.
We're new here. We arrived in January. I've been working on the house for 7 years. In 7 years, I managed to have 5 kids. I think if I would have been at the house, I could have built the house in 7 years. I mean, houses are going up all the time that take less than a year. So it would be nice to. What concerns me the most is the plans that they currently have don't really tell us where the roof deck is. And for both John and for us, the roof deck is a major concern for the safety of our families. For me, for my children, they are a family with children, but who is to say that they can sell it? Or it becomes a party place on the roof and people are staring down into our homes. So take that in consideration about extending.
Feel good?
Thank you.
God bless.
I know.
Out on the couch.
So queen, yeah, feel good.
Attorney for the Barishes.
Come on.
Let me read into the
Come on.
record.
Mr. Weiner, let me ask you, are you
Let's go.
speaking to the other gentleman?
Come on.
or Mr. Shibels?
Let's get our cup. Come on. Come on. Good girl.
Mr. Shibels.
Quite honestly, anyone could come. Well, I don't want to. I only have 3 minutes. Anyone can come.
Thank
forward
you.
and speak publicly. You're not conducting.
Thank you.
The red stamp says this. Let me do it carefully. Reviewed to the best of my knowledge and belief for Florida building codes compliance. Issuance of the permit shall not constitute permission to violate building, zoning, or license requirements reviewed by D. McIntosh 5/5/2015. So everything that's been said here, first of all, we didn't even mention the word good cause. Now, I know I'm as popular here as an IRS agent at a dinner for Al Capone, but honestly, they didn't even mention good cause. Your ordinance says show good cause. What they did rely upon is this stamp. You want me to read it again? I think I made it makes no difference. The stamp is nothing. You have no exposure. You saw the pictures. Let me read you one thing in your ordinance. As used in this land development code, human scale refers to architectural elements of construction such as windows, doors, entryways, to skip a few, and the keeping of such element in an approximate one-to-one relationship with the skill of the human, with the scale of the human body. It goes on. This is being done in the best interest of the health, safety, welfare of the community, and to provide adequate light and air separation between buildings. The town commission is seeking to harmonize the building character within the community by restricting the use of large and overstated or overbearing building limits. That's in your code, precisely in your code. Did you see Mr. Scheibel's photographs? You think that anything has been reviewed in connection with that code provision, and that is only one code provision that is violated. Now look. A town commission does not have power and authority to reopen an expired permit. You're granting construction, there's no permit. Can't do it, doesn't make any logical sense. An extension with granting a permit that's not in compliance with law through an agreement, that's ultra vires. The extension would be in violation of the comprehensive plan of the town of Ocean Ridge. Certainly what I said about human scale. Look, a lot has been said about the participation of the Scheibels or inferred in the Barishes in this process. They wish they weren't here tonight. They wish they weren't the ones watching out for the code enforcement and the codes. We want to pull back. We wanted to pull back after these negotiations started, putting the cart before the horse. Nothing should be done here tonight. You can't really do anything until there are permits that you can review. You can't grant construction with expired permits that we know are in violation of the code. Probably even more importantly, that's scale. Your two residents who are here now that have asked you to slow down and take a look at it. So where are they? They didn't even mention the words good cause. They just ignore your ordinances. It's not popular to bring it up, or it's not popular to be here tonight. But that's where we are. Now they want an extension, get off the hook again, even though they have red stamps, which they say they relied upon. What are you showing the town? That anybody along the ocean can go and build whatever they want to build? They'll walk in, so it'll take a few years. Is that what you're going to show?
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. That if you did nothing tonight, not believe it, what I think you should truly do is you should deny it. Code enforcement should go forward, and everything should be done in accordance with the law. But at least don't take an action where you're demonstrating that you're violating your own codes for everyone to see.
Yeah.
So please, not the most popular opinion tonight, but it is something that I think will allow people at least to get done what's required for the town of Ocean Ridge to live by its rules and regulations and enforce them again in some other environment with respect to some other projects. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why is it taking them so long?
Public comment? All right, public comments now closed. I'll open the floor for commissioner discussion.
Then let's go.
Commissioner Pugh.
Go on, I'm still thinking about something.
Okay. Vice Mayor. Sorry. Blame him.
Yeah. I think our shared goal, both neighbors, applicant, commission, staff, is to move this project forward. I think there was negotiation in good faith in the last 3.5 months. I think a lot of the stuff in the agreement is addressing exactly what the neighbors wanted to address, the three major issues. Of course, there's probably another 10 that could have been addressed.
The one you said
We really
on the inside?
the major things
Really?
that affected not only the neighbors, but the community
Thought it was done.
at large. And it's not easy.
What is that?
This is not
What's
an
that
easy
about?
decision
Can't see
because
nothing going on. That's what I hear.
you don't know me, Mr. Price, but this just boils my blood. I've worked
Ooh.
with scrupulous developers and their attorneys
Who's that talking?
in my better part of the last 15 professional years, and I don't believe in variances, I don't believe in conditional uses, and I surely don't believe in let's twist things around to make things happen. So I'm not going to comment directly on the agreement. I think it does cover the major issues that we needed to address, particularly the indemnification piece. My comments, I think, tonight are going to focus on the fact that I don't think that there is good faith, adequate compensation to the town on behalf of the applicant. We have a limited number of estate oceanfront lots, and we have forfeited tax revenue on this very important property for over 5 years. And they lived there before, and they lived in a smaller home, and they were able to purchase it. That's wonderful. But I mean, based on your own square footage of 11.5 thousand square feet, you're looking at a $30 to $50 million piece of property that we have not seen but pennies on the dollar, not even pennies. And I think that that's really where not only have the neighbors been treated unjustly, but the town itself has. We can't even begin to cover the amount of legal time that we have taken, engineering time, all the other things that have transpired over the last 5 years. You know, taxes are our only revenue base. I mean, I wish we had, you know, we have half the sales tax, this and that. But I mean, that is it. And we needed that revenue, and we still need that revenue to improve and sustain. I don't know if you know, but I'm sure the applicant would be thrilled to know that we just purchased a mangrove property as a town, dug into our reserves, because it's the right thing to do to protect the town and protect the character of the town. And I don't think your applicant, your client has had that same thought in mind for the last 5 years. If not, he would have gotten off the dime. If he had a bad contractor, hire a newer one. I mean, there is no excuse for what has happened for the last 5 years. And I appreciate you falling on the sword and in making the apologies. It just seems like a day late and a dollar short on many issues. I just don't know if you guys are really going to work in good faith. We don't want to tear down a structure, but we don't want, it's been referred to as the parking garage, it's been referred to as the pyramid. We don't want to live with it as a community. They don't want to live with it as neighbors. So I think my consideration, while I'm happy with the draft agreement, could have included more things. Of course, it always can. I just don't feel like, in good faith, you guys are actually going to do what you're going to do. And I'm using the vernacular, looking at both of you, and you're like, I'm not a believer yet. There's nothing been said to me, and nothing really in that agreement that says, yeah, they're going forward. They're going to do it this time. Because you know what? If that were true, let's spin in the game. I mean, like, let's
No, I'm driving my car. Orca.
Steve.
So Christie, this agreement has been agreed to by both parties, and changing it
Stop. Orca.
enormous.
No, the agreement's been agreed to with the owner. The attorney for the adjacent neighbors has not provided any.
Right, I understand that part.
Right.
But in other words, right now, if the commission agrees to this agreement, we have a final agreement. They'll move this project forward, hopefully complete it within 1 year.
Yes.
Correct?
That's
And the
correct.
teeth is, if you break the agreement, we take $450,000 and knock down the house, and they start from scratch. Okay. Second thing, the roof that Mrs. Barris brought up, in the agreement, it takes care of the flat roof in that situation.
Stop, Orca.
In
No.
the agreement,
Leave her
they
alone.
have to submit plans to modify their existing permit to bring that flat roof deck area to within the town's current code, which allows for you to have a rooftop deck to be used for recreation or porch or what have you. It can be no bigger than 20% of your total roof area.
Right.
There's also nothing in the code that prohibits exterior stairs to that rooftop deck. So what they've agreed to and what we've asked them is to modify their current building permits to make this change to limit the size of that rooftop deck
To
the current code requirement.
what about,
2,208.
what about
Right.
the stairs?
The stairs are currently allowed under our code because if you have a rooftop deck, you're allowed to have access to it and we don't control access.
Where are those stairs?
Where's
Are they
the
on
roof
south
area?
side? They're on the south exterior wall of that main structure?
It's going to come in front of the building with that. Right?
That's
Well,
what's been approved already.
If it's in
Under
front of the building,
existing
that's-
plans is
Yeah.
exterior
Very good.
stairs to the roof area.
But it doesn't-
Orca.
Was
Leave
approved,
her
they had a
alone.
building permit for it,
Finish
they
it.
never built it, so that's out the window.
The
Orca.
stairs are existing.
Stop.
The stairs exist. The stairs have been
So are
built.
they on the south side of the, so they're towards Mr. Schreiber's property? Where are they? The stairs are not built?
Who can tell us?
Stairs to go up to the roof deck.
Exterior ones.
There's no existing stairs there now at all. The original plans, 2000, and an internal staircase from the center of the building to the top.
Orca. Quit it
I
alone.
was under the impression it was for HVAC, but whatever it might be. But there's no exterior staircase.
So at this very moment, there's no staircase that exists on that property.
Okay,
So
so,
we don't need-
right. which means that that'll be part of the modification of plans that's coming in front.
My
Might be on the
understanding,
plan,
and
but
the
it's not.
current approved plans
Why
on exterior stairs.
did he come into work?
In the
In
plans,
the plans,
in the
maybe, but
plans.
not on the property at this point.
Exactly, okay, right, okay.
My
He-
question
Certainly,
is
he would know
Right.
more than I do, the current.
All right,
existing-
so they're in the
Also,
plans.
those stairs would trigger an issue having to do with building coverage.
There's a bunch of.
But it's in the plans, right,
That's
right.
kind of
It's
where
one
I
of
was
many.
saying there's a number of issues
It's in the
to
plans.
discuss.
Okay.
Steve, I'm sorry, I cut
No,
you short.
he said he's done. How about you, Martin?
So I have several issues with this property. Obviously, I've voiced them over the last few years. Part of the audience and as part of up here. Your applicant has shown very little concern towards the neighbors, has shown very, very little concern towards the residents of this town and all the people that live with the construction. For 7 years, they've basically disregarded everything that normal people would consider decent.
Here's my couch.
At this point, they're in a pickle because they put themselves, right?
Right, come on, get down.
We had the applicant's representative 2 years ago here making a grand gesture saying, oh, I can finish this property in by this and that time. And coming out of the construction industry or having to do with construction, I knew that was a long shot. It could have been done, but it was a long shot. So we granted him at that time more time than he was asking for. And nothing was done during that time. There was another, I think it was close to 3/4 of a year, 6 or 7 months at least, until that building permit time expired yet again. So the question at this point is, and if Mr. Scheibels is actually right about this, that all this construction work was actually done without a building permit, then that would raise the legal question, I guess, if that work should even exist.
Well, yes, the problem that we've been dealing with is that there are permits as of 2019, even that they've admitted to, that this home has been constructed to. And so the challenge that we've always faced in this is those competing interests of the owner building based on approved plans. And the neighbor making arguments now that perhaps there were flaws along the way. Personally, I think mistakes were made all around.
So
what we're trying to do is trying to figure out an agreement to get this thing done.
Right. So you've heard what Mr. Scheibels and I'm sorry.
Mr. Price.
Right.
I know. It's fair. What your two direct neighbors are concerned with. And I want to say that I understand where your client is coming from. At this point in the game, my concern lies with those two neighbors and with the rest of the townspeople. And I don't think you're going to find anybody in this town of the 1,800 residents that is going to look favorable on this construction site or that has anything good to say about that construction site. Not one of them. So the question at this point is, I understand what the agreement is that you guys tried to work out. I believe there are certain flaws in this that make me not agree to this. The flaws are the deck area the 2,208, the way that you come to calculate that deck area is based on the two buildings added to each other and then taking 20% off. But you're only building it on one building.
I do have to tell you that our zoning official looked at the calculations, looked at the most recent approved plans, and when you read the code provision on the allowable deck, it includes every coverage on the property. Our zoning official reviewed the calculations. He made a couple minor tweaks to it. The final calculation is based on it. Now, they have to resubmit. So the final plans will receive a full another zoning review and our building officials review. But based on the preliminary that they've submitted, those are your zoning officials' calculations based on the current code.
All right, then let me rephrase this otherwise.
Thank you.
I disagree that you need to have a 2,200 square foot deck on top of
That's completely different.
Christie, when does the
it.
agreement kick in?
And as far as the neighbors are concerned,
First, we have to get it
the
done.
neighbors disagree with that too. And I think it would be a goodwill gesture that your applicant goes ahead and nicks that entire deck area.
Okay then.
I have just two questions for you, Attorney.
The agreement, if approved tonight and goes forward, they have to submit the renewal for the permits. They have to submit the permit renewal fee, and they have to submit their letter of credit, obviously with the signed agreement. They have 30 days to do that if you approve this tonight.
And then it'll kick in.
Then it kicks in and their 1 year starts off.
Okay, difference between 2009, 2020 and now is $450,000 and an agreement that we can use that money to
Correct.
level the house. and
Oh,
let them
no,
start
no, no.
finishing.
Listen, I understand.
We had no teeth in the other agreement.
I completely understand. I completely understand. And the agreement in itself is right. The thing is, there's provisions in that agreement that I think still do not address the direct neighbors that are to the north and to the south.
Okay.
And I think at this point, there's so many violations on this entire property. As far as our current code is concerned, there's so many violations on this. The reason why you got away with, or why you're saying
Not
you,
him.
I apologize, it's not you, obviously, it's your client. This has gone through different hands and whatever.
So Mark,
We are at a point right now where we need to decide where we're gonna go, right? And as far as I'm concerned, there needs to be more coming from your client. I humbly disagree with my with the vice mayor that it needs to be tax revenue. I think it has to be concessions towards the neighbors to the north and to the neighbors.
okay, I'm going to switch over to Jeff. Jeff, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a permit extension based upon a deal that was struck with our town attorney and our town staff and the building officials. We're here to, yes, there is emotional part about it. There are the parishes and there are the Scheibels. However, we're here to make a decision on to extend the permit. Does the permit extension limited to time? Yes. Is a permit extension costly? Yes. Is there a provision that the town is covered on any type of litigation? Yes. However, having said all that, what happens is that we have to take into account the neighbors' concerns. But at this point in time, the town, all that has come before this has now come to a head. So we have 1 year where they have to build and finish that home. That's tall order. And if that doesn't happen, then obviously we have our agreement, which we can move forward on. And I hate to put it on the side, Mr. Scheibels and the parishes, another year of it. However, this is what our staff that we pay to do has come up with. I think it's a decision we're making now that has to go forward in order to us to get to the end. So.
Okay, the only thing I'm going to say here is I'm going to take it right from our attorney's letter, which says the only benefit the owner is receiving from this agreement is an extension of the time to get this development finished. The owner still needs to submit his plans to modify front facade and roof deck area. Doesn't mean that they're going to be agreed to. He has to submit them. That goes out of our hands to the next stage. So the owner still needs to obtain approval of those modifications and revisions and obtain all necessary inspections for work. So this isn't a free ride there, and I don't need to say any more. You've heard it all tonight. You've got a good idea. So I would like to see this move forward myself.
But at the same time, let's keep in mind that, yes, there is these two provisions as far as to, that is what we want out of this deal. However, the building itself is so far not in compliance with lot coverage, with, I think there's setback issues, there's drainage field issues, there's all kinds of these other issues. Are we also telling our building official he needs to address those? Or are we saying, well, you know, the plans as they were flawed, and we are just addressing those two little issues?
If I may address it,
please.
Your decision tonight is whether or not to extend the time frame for construction. It's actually not even to extend building permits.
Right.
Because the building permits are controlled by the Florida Building Code. We have a local ordinance that limits the duration for construction. Under that ordinance, 6752, you can extend that duration for just cause. The agreement is to provide that to you so that we have an agreement with the owner to get this done and get it over with. So we are not deciding tonight whether those permits were properly issued, whether the owner has a vested right in permits that were issued or an equitable estoppel agreement. We're not deciding if this development should be approved and go forward. That's been done years ago. What we're only deciding tonight is to extend the duration of construction. That's it. That's the decision. That's the authority you've given yourself in that ordinance. All the other approvals have already happened, or they're going to happen by your professional staff.
And it's still subject to the traditional inspections.
Right.
Okay,
so
repeat that 6750.
6752 is your code section that governs the duration of construction. It's your local ordinance where you put.
And we have the right, we have the right to extend that based on?
The good cause. So it's in your agenda packet.
So if the applicant shows good cause.
Just cause.
Difference.
Then you can extend the duration of construction. It's a local ordinance where you've given yourself.
We can do
that decision. And that's all you're deciding tonight.
Do you, Mr. Price, feel that you have given just cause?
Yes, sir.
And your argument is based on?
Yes.
My
All
argument
right.
is based on the fact.
All right.
Come on, guys, we're at commission.
Okay, so no, I don't think we need to. I think we're ready, if you don't mind. We understand. I think we heard it all too. Mr. Sharbles, I'll give you a second to make a statement. I know. Then I'm going to have to let you come back. Just know that. So how about,
In the duration.
Mr. Sharbles? Actually, I have closed public comment, so I can't get more statements because then we've got to stand up behind you. So we're just going to be done here, and I'm sorry.
I make anyhow, even though it's not a statement. It's 2,208 square feet. Just to visualize, 1.5 times the size of this room. This is 16.
I think we've all been right. Okay, so can I entertain for a motion?
Motion to approve the request for the extension of the building permits at 6273 North Ocean Boulevard with the construction duration extension agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
We'll take a vote. All right. Oh, yeah, we might as well do roll call for this one. All right, Carla, would you please?
Commissioner Cross, how do you vote?
Yay. Yay.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure either.
I've been talking about this so long.
I said A.
I did.
As in A.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeHassett, how do you vote?
Yay, but I know where you live now.
Commissioner Eastbrook, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mayor Hobart.
Me, eh? I'm gonna say yay, but I know where you live too. Okay, then. How long are we here now? 2 hours?
41.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. I'm gonna guess the men's and while
Okay.
you're doing this, but you don't need me.
Yeah, may we take, what do you say?
The
Let's say
price
5 minutes.
line
Let's say 5
noted,
minutes.
living on thin, thin
Yes, sir. By the way, if a hurricane comes, you're gonna need those generators.
I don't say that word.
Not only you know where I live, you have a phone number.
I got someone out in the parking lot.
My degree is in building construction, so.
Where the heck were you more than 3 months ago?
Because I just
I
got.
know, I know. We've been through several of these with just got hired. We have to do.
Yeah.
That's why we are where we are.
Everything we can.
I would really appreciate you bending over backwards and pulling out that,
Pledge to you that if anything goes
that
wrong,
little
you call me.
please to our neighbor. They have every right to be upset. So whatever you can do to apologize to the people that need it. I know.
It's hard to react to a neighbor who they won't tell us what
I
they
know,
want.
believe me, I got it. But I also basically know they're very nice people. I know they're very nice people, so just keep working.
We tried to make.
Yeah, I know, just keep at it. Now that we're represented, that changes things. But they're very nice.
I go riding.
Thank you very much.
Motorcycle riding. Probably go past my 64.
5-minute break.
64 square.
I don't think we got three up here. For Monday.
That's where we have houses on both sides. Yes, yes, the road is, did that last year, right up there. Gorgeous, gorgeous area.
Why didn't you
Come right out. Hey.
why didn't you speak to us? How long am I gonna have to wait?
Where in Carolina?
Chapel Hill. That's where my,
Somebody in school?
that's where my son-in-law, daughter, and 3 grandchildren.
Oh, very nice.
Chapel Hill.
Very nice.
Not in school,
Yeah,
5, 7, and 9.
that's fun. Those are nice ages. You don't get that no all the time.
Sorry.
It's coming though.
I think P and Z wanted to be a little bit more strict.
My biggest issue here, it gets fast forward. If you hold the glass sideways, forward, so you get all the liquid. All the CO2 is in the mixture. You need to get that CO2. For wine, what is wine? Yeah, it's good stuff on there.
I like the idea. Shawl kind of makes it fun, but, and then sometimes I'll get a band.
I live so close to them, like before they open.
Yeah.
Saturday night, he has a lot of concerts there. Letter.
Yes, I'm stopped. There's a, in July 2nd, down at the Corral, the trip ambulance. And, they bring everything.
Okay, everybody back?
I've shit my brain.
I remember when we go to one of those microbreweries.
No, it's avocado, carrot.
Okay, is everybody here? Steve, are we all here? I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Like they care. Look, I got Betty's back to me. Martin, sit. Martin, sit. Betty, sit. Okay. Oh, let's see. Item number 4. Push this thing so I could yell at it. Okay, yeah, I know. I just used it. All right, folks. We're on item number 4.
You're becoming a space invader.
Yeah, I know. Look at that, right? Sorry, honey. Okay. Item number 4 is approving the budget expenditure for repair of the Porter Street crossover. Agenda item number 4. Town manager, will you please advise us on this item?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. The town budgeted $50,000 to repair the Porter Street crossover in the current FY22 budget. However, due to inflation from the effects of COVID-19, prices are much higher than expected and are over the town's threshold for competitive selection, which was not expected. In addition, prices are increasing at a fast pace. Due to that, staff recommends the town commission utilize the best interest acquisition provision in the town code and to move forward with the lowest quote that was received from Benchmark Painting and Carpentry in the amount of $59,844 for composite decking and railing pickets, which will last longer.
I will now open the floor for public comment. Come on.
Well, I just want to make a couple of quick comments. I'm so happy if you say yes, all of you. But the concerns that people have expressed to me is that where deck material hot when you touch it and when you walk on it with bare feet, or they guarantee that it doesn't get hot. Wood doesn't get that hot, but is that an issue? Did they mention that at all?
It's that, they claim it's cooler.
They claim it's cooler, and I already asked if it would be slippery, and they told me that it won't be.
Yeah,
So
no, I think it's
I've already checked on
good
those
stuff.
too.
They've
I
improved
would
it.
prefer wood, but that's, I'm in favor of it. But the other question was the color. We don't want gray if we can get brown. If it's available, more natural look would be brown.
Yeah.
Matches my
No,
name.
they come in that beige woody looking color.
Yeah.
That's what he means by brown. That's what he calls
Thank you.
You're partial to brown, huh?
it. Any other public comment on this? Okay, then public comments now closed. I'll open the floor for commissioner discussion. Jeff?
Make motion.
I knew you were going to say it. Christine, anything?
I'm fine. I'm aghast with the price.
You good?
Second.
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
Aghast.
Anything you want to add in there? Okay, make your motion.
I did.
Second.
Third.
All right, well, we don't have to call the roll. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, item number 5. Approve budgeted expenditure for repair of Ocean Avenue sidewalk pavers under the best interest acquisition provision in the town code. Town Manager Stevens, would you please advise us on this item?
Absolutely. This is along the same line. We knew this was coming. This was a budgeted item. It does go over our threshold again, so we're asking you to approve with the best interest acquisition. This would be $27,025.71 to complete the work, and the quote was from Hartzell Construction, and they were the only quote that we could receive. gave this to a few other contractors that never gave us a quote, and we're thinking it's just, people are busy right now. So they didn't quote on it.
All right, then, I'll open the floor for public comment. I will close the floor. Commissioner discussion, Jeff, any input?
Same thing,
Abu?
maintenance.
He's good.
Oh, I'm good.
We already agreed on it, just with the money.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? There we go. Motion carries. All right, now we have, we would normally have the P and Z Commission report, but Mr. Marsh has had to leave, and anybody has any questions, should be right here in the packet.
Can I make a quick comment on this section? You have it on the
On what,
agenda.
the P and Z?
I went to planning and zoning.
Who?
Carlin.
Why?
For some reason, my comments didn't get included in the minutes because they probably pulled the mic.
This is just a summary.
Huh?
This is just a summary.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate that. But I did make some comments regarding the property at Whitney Way and Thompson. That's a huge piece of property. Some of it is mitigated property that can't be built on. The development plan shows where the infrastructure and retaining walls, and you were there as well. So my concern was that appears not to be a policy in the town when you have a large piece of property like that, that the developer, and I thought there was policy, where the developer was responsible for, before they got a CO, to get rid of all the exotic invasive plants, even if it's not in the infrastructure section that's being developed. Because it extends down into the county mitigated area. In fact, they have two big lots there, as you know, but they're going to build on part of it, but the rest of it blends in with the county mitigated wetlands, I guess you'd call it. But there's a lot of exotics in there, invasive plants that need to come out. And you can require the developer, as I understand it, to remove it before they get a CO. Am I right?
I don't know, but we're gonna
But
check
yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
We took your comments into consideration, and that's something that the building official is gonna be working with the developer.
Okay, good.
There you go.
Good. I appreciate
We
it.
need an operator
There you
for
go.
that.
Let's I'm gonna throw something at you. All right. Agenda item number
I
7.
just had one question.
Oh.
Off of the report. Item number 5, discussion regarding the impacts of enclosed porches on maximum floor area ratio calculations. Are they going to continue to explore that? Because that's very inconclusive. It's still like, okay, thanks.
Okay, all good?
Actually,
Penny could have given us the
good
report.
question.
She's- yeah, she's still here.
Actually, on that one, they directed staff, which they can't direct
Right.
staff. It has to be your body that
So-
directs staff. So
Mhm.
if you would like staff to work on that, we have consensus from your body to do
What?
so.
I think what we also had,
Oh, here's-
doing is.
here's Mark.
Here's Mark.
Oh, that's Mark.
I know.
They said there was not going to be a report, so.
Yeah, we were letting you off the hook, but you're here. Do you have anything you want to say? Because we just had a question.
Mark Marsh, Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I just want to thank my fellow commissioners for voting me in for another term as chair. And I think, as I said the last time I spoke here, we have a really good crew. So I want to just get that in, really. So what's the question?
I agree.
We were talking about the discussion regarding the impacts of enclosed porches on minimum floor area ratio. And the Planning and Zoning Commission asked staff to work on a text amendment for that, an ordinance amendment. So we're bringing it up to the commission now because the commission is the body that directs staff to do so. So we're trying to get consensus for that.
Yeah, there's some confusion as to what constitutes floor area. And porches, covered porches can in some municipalities be used, others they don't count because they're not habitable or conditioned space. But we need to revisit it because it is a loophole we have currently that starts out. it's the same thing as the garage. Garages started out as good intentions. People expanded to them. And then, they defeat the purpose of having covered parking.
So Mark, this was explained to me, that maybe it was explained wrong or I misunderstood. The way you guys are worried about it, somebody builds the room and they connect the patio here. You guys go away, the Durrani goes away, and a year later they wall in underneath that roof.
Yes, or a breezeway is a better.
A breezeway, yep. Okay.
If you have
So
connections, you can
I get it, but don't we have codes on the book already that if somebody goes to do that, they get busted and it's demolished?
No, I mean, it's, in most cases, they won't attempt to even get a permit, I'm sure.
Well, then that's a code enforcement issue.
Yeah.
then.
Then it's code enforcement.
Right.
But then it's too late.
Right, do we want to go that far?
What do you mean it's too late? You tell the guy to reverse it.
Kind of like.
Yeah, what we just saw.
What we just
45
saw.
minutes.
Yeah, but we've tightened things up since then.
Here's the problem, and I didn't want to speak well.
Right.
Subject. Since there's so many breaches on that particular application, the only out that I can see is it has to go to code enforcement. And how that is handled, God only knows. I mean, that's the last resort. And, I think minor things will, like, if you enclose a 8-foot-long breezeway with, permanent sides or enclosure elements, then, that's something that can be challenged fairly easily.
Right, that's what I was
add
told.
something too? I know Neil's not here, but something that he did mention at the P and Z meeting is how everybody's maxing out their lots, and since open porches are not considered, they can have this very big porches, but it's not counted in the calculations.
Yeah, but there's a 35% green roof.
And so, we're
Doesn't
looking
apply,
at similar towns, like Corey just sent me a report that will go to the commission about similar towns and the way they treat anywhere from an Alabama, Gulfstream, and just different ones. And some of them do 50% credit instead of doing, and that's something that the, PNC will take a look at how it will impact or.
Steve, I think one of the things that came up, and it was a PNC meeting that I didn't attend, but I saw the backup package. There was one piece of property that they had an outdoor kitchen and living area that was almost the size of their house. And it was their house, and it was completely
That's
roofed.
pretty cool.
It probably could have had a split air somewhere stuck in, and it was open on 3 sides. It had one wall so they could have their electronics or the outdoor screen TV or something. But I mean, I think it's a trend that's happening particularly, and I don't mean to say this now that Mr. Price is gone, when you have a builder, developer versus somebody who's building for their own self. So I think it's just a loophole that
I don't consider it a loophole because there's a 35%. FAR's X, and then the patio and the pool and all the rest of that stuff can't consume more than 65% of your property.
Could be in a second.
But that's part of FAR.
Well.
So you mean the part they're trying to enclose could be on the second floor?
they-
See, I don't know why
If it
it's like, why don't we make a rule that, we're gonna help people not to speed in the parking lot. You know what I mean? I don't get the preemptive nature of this.
It's a good idea with all day, every day.
Cognizant of the fact that if somebody builds a normal big porch or breezeway, it's indicating that there may be an intent later on. You can't say it is an intent if it's not on the application, but, and then there will be, so I think one way to do it, which we discussed, is to come up with a maximum percentage of what a deck or a porch can be.
So you're looking for a consensus from us to ask staff to go forward and dig in.
Yeah, we need to.
Right? But you need it from
us.
us.
It's a loophole, right?
Right.
I can tell you.
It basically, the way that I read this is somebody goes and does it.
Yeah.
Against the code, right? He gets caught.
After the fact.
After the fact, yeah. He gets caught. He gets dragged in front of the special magistrate. He applies for what? What is that called? A variance?
Yeah.
He goes to the Board of Adjustment and and it's being looked
That means
at,
we have a
well, they
problem.
just spent $100,000 putting all these hurricane impact windows and sliding glass doors and all of this stuff in here. and an air conditioner and all.
You
So
think
let's,
that-
so let's look at, let's look at this.
It doesn't
Let's see
hurt
what
to look
other,
at it.
yeah, it's not gonna hurt to look at it.
Yeah, I
And
think
you,
it needs further. but
So-
That's what we're asking.
right, so can we get consensus on giving this to staff? I know you say no. Martin?
Yes.
Yes. Jeff?
I think it's like you're making town laws out of what ifs. What if somebody does this? What if
No,
somebody
there is
does that?
already a
Proactive,
solution.
yeah.
Just-
So I'm
My
in
turn.
there.
Sorry.
And
Take it
I
away.
disagree with you. I think that, and I disagree with you, Martin. There's a process of if somebody does something and they decide they want to go to the variance and they go for other variance, that happens. How many instances in town of Ocean Ridge has this happened?
A lot.
A lot is okay, a lot.
No,
Okay,
I
a
think
lot to me
it's-
is, when I was in high
Consider
school, a lot was $5. So a lot could be what? One person, two person? And by the way, your thing you're talking about was done illegal. All right, and then when they sold the house, they sold it and the town let them have it so they could actually sell the house because the house had been sitting there for so long. So I disagree with it. No, I don't have consensus.
so
and no, I
not
don't
for
think it
you.
should be looked at.
You there? I say let's look at it, right? We look at it, we don't have to do anything with it. Let's take a look at it because y'all can't do that.
Let's mark it
correction.
as 60% consensus.
How does that go?
And Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I
please.
do
He'll
think,
be on, he'll get there.
I think it's an issue
Variance
that
board shortly, so
if
he'll
the
take care of
the
it.
majority of the consensus is for staff to work on it. I would ask that staff work with the zoning commission on it because I think there is much more research
Direction.
that Corey's doing,
Yeah.
that we
Right.
probably need to have another meeting where we discuss,
Right.
different ways of addressing this issue.
Absolutely.
And just keep in mind, maybe what happens will come to you all for a decision.
Exactly.
Staff.
Right. Exactly.
Carla's her staff.
Can this may be out of order on the whole.
Oh, can't
whole
wait.
portion. Didn't we look at one-way traffic at one time?
Oh, yeah.
We
Yep.
did.
Got a report
Oh, yeah.
2017.
That was the meeting.
And
I
they
remember
still
that
haven't
one.
banned assault rifles. So don't do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I think you missed that earlier.
And then put the signage in,
We can't address
the
that
speed
until then.
in metric. We didn't give out there.
Oh, yeah, that'll confuse them. Thank you. Agenda item 9, Chief Jones,
Look at that calculator.
you present. Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry, I passed over you. Mark interrupted. It's his
There are
fault.
priorities, obviously.
I'm so sorry. I did mention you and then Mark interrupted. Town manager. Yes, sorry. Town manager, would you please present the
I
town manager
will,
report?
and my report is in your packet.
Yes, it is.
I'm not gonna go through the whole thing because you all have seen it in public. The only thing I need to add to it is that our beloved town clerk has given her resignation to go back to school to study law, and we congratulate her for that. We're very proud.
We are.
It's gonna be a very big loss for the town, but we're very proud of her.
She'll come back when Christie retires.
Watch out, Christie.
Oh,
Just lower your rates.
wow.
Get in the bidding war.
Are you doing the 2.5-year program or the 3-year program so I can plan?
Need a new partner? Okay, then.
So on your report, Tracy, I just had one thing.
Mhm.
It says that they were handed to the mail
Oh,
delivery.
that
guy.
one.
Oh, for the check run, yes.
Yeah, but
So
I gotta,
our check run was handed to the mail
That's
carrier
theirs.
on camera in the lobby.
okay,
We have
but
a
my
camera.
next door neighbor said he had 2 large checks that he put in the box.
Right,
And those got stolen as well.
Okay, so it was the same mail carrier
Right.
then, because the
Okay.
carrier that picks up
Did he
here
call
was
you?
probably the
We
same
have
one that picks
two
up there.
different issues going on in town.
Okay, I don't need to know about that. I'll tell you about my neighbor later.
But I do think that if you haven't read the package, it is worth mentioning to maybe during your report that this is something that's
Yeah,
happening.
that's one of the things.
Yeah, that's top of your list here. Chief Jones, will you please present your report?
So the content of my report is basic. It's obviously within your package. If you have any questions specifically, I'll be more than happy to answer that. What I wanted to talk about is the ongoing fraud and mail theft related issues that we have been dealing with now for about the last 3 weeks or so. The majority of these cases that we initially saw involve mail that was either dropped into the actual secure box in the front cubicle circular area of Town Hall, and or mail that we know was hand delivered to the Postal Service people. Interesting enough, we had a new mail carrier when this all started, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where the issue is.
Do we still have it? Them?
Unfortunately, the federal
Okay.
government
He, she,
is
they,
as
her.
slow at doing investigations
Right,
as they are at paying bills. So we have been in contact with both their internal affairs division, which regulates the Postal Service from internally, and they are working that portion of the investigation because we don't have authority to work that.
So the guy isn't still picking up our mail.
Yep.
Shoot.
He could. Excuse me. He could potentially be picking up me here or somewhere else.
Someplace else.
Second to that is we had specifically one vehicle that we targeted in town that was doing theft from mailboxes. You will all be shocked to know that it was a vehicle from Broward County with an individual who has a previous criminal history for none other than fraud.
Who knew?
We are actively working that investigation. I actually had detectives in Broward today dealing with that as well. That vehicle we know was involved. We know the people that were involved. We are working that aspect of the crime at the state level because we have authority to do that external to the Postal Service.
Right.
So it appears coincidentally that the two are unrelated, but they just so happen to occur at the same time frame. So we have had checks that were stolen from mailboxes that have been washed and then reissued. And we've also had bank account takeovers, primarily with the worst bank in the country, Bank of America, who refuses to cooperate with law enforcement except under court order, even when they're the victim. Where victims had had replacement debit cards sent to their mailbox, and then those debit cards were intercepted either digitally or physically prior to delivery. So we're working a couple different issues here. Not all of them are interconnected, but they are all related to the mail. We are not the only agency dealing with this. This has been an ongoing issue with Boca, Delray, Boynton for the last 8 months or so. Coincidentally with us, we're a small enough community that we had the video.
Right.
So we were able to track that mail being hand delivered or physically dropped off in the box out front, and then we were able to see it collected only by mail staff because that is under video surveillance. So 2 points of reference for town residents. Please, if you have any interest, invest in a lockable mailbox for your primary residence so that you can secure your mail when it's delivered there. Or 2, continue to use this drop box, even though we know it was compromised, it is under video surveillance, so at least we can guarantee that the issue is internal to the Postal Service. And if it's internal to the Postal Service, it doesn't matter where you take your mail, it's not safe. So.
Can we get one of those little signs that says, smile, you're on camera?
Yes, exactly.
Another sign.
Another sign.
Yeah, more. So you're saying that they're coming from Broward County despite the gas prices?
Correct. The one thing that we have noticed is that the criminals who are using credit cards of yours to buy gas don't care about the gas.
Yeah, funny how that works. Oh, boy. All right, so there's that. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Chief? We're good. 10, Town Engineer Public Works Report was already included in the meeting packages. If there are any questions, we good? Good. All right, Building Officials Report was included there. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
What's
All right.
happening with 62?
Oh, Steve, put your hand out.
You pulled yours, right? You pulled this.
Your item.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I actually should have done that at the beginning. Of the
Okay, so
meeting.
12 is pulled, 13 pulled. All right then. Can I hear a motion to adjourn? Come on, adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you very much for y'all hanging in there. You can tell you've been with your son. That is such a boy thing.
I think when you have two long items, kind of go to the end.
It is what it is.